Good morning, everybody. Cheers. I'm dropping frames. There's definitely some issues with YouTube this morning, just letting you know. I couldn't even get chat enabled so I could get a chat window. Kept coming up with something went wrong with a YouTube message, but only just came back up about 3 minutes ago, and yeah, I hope the stream's going to work okay, but I've already dropped 500 and something frames during the intro. I don't know why. Anyway, hi. Fun morning. Welcome. For those of you that are joining. Bacon is what? Bacon is number one. Who said bacon is not? Don't like bacon. Sorry. It's fine. Not everyone has to like everything, but I'm not sure how you can. Yeah, bacon's yum. Bacon is yeah. Wow. Oh, Super Bruce expected something wonderful. Well, you'll be disappointed. You should leave. Kept muting another live podcast I was watching earlier. Yeah, there's something definitely going on with YouTube. So I'm apologizing in advance if things go haywire. Super Seagulls. Nerds and nerdettes and Super Seagulls. I am a bit discombobulated this morning, I have to admit. It's going through a list of things that I want to potentially do on stream today, or that I just need to get done today. So, opportunity to do it on stream. And I've managed to pretty much rule out all of them for various reasons. The most obvious reason is I left a box of stuff on my desk at home. On the coffee, my desk is the dining room table, right? Where my MacBook Pro is. I left a box there with some stuff. So I didn't get here early enough to race back home to bring it back. So I got myself I got a couple. It took me a while to get one that potentially I can use. I got myself a BLE keyboard, battery powered BLE keyboard, that I wanted to see if I could get communicating with an ESP32S3, so I can use it as an input source, like an actual keyboard, so I can capture via HID. So it's all easy to do via HID with USB, but doing it actually directly through BLE is quite challenging, because you need to set up the communication with the correct security protocol or set up for a keyboard, because a keyboard has no a keyboard is an input device, but there's no output. You can't see anything. You can't see, like it can't pair with a keyboard with a pass key or a code or something, because you've got no visual way of seeing what it is to be able to enter it or whatever, right? So I was and the first, I got two keyboards. The first keyboard I got says it was BLE, but it's actually not. It's Bluetooth. It uses classic Bluetooth. So might be able to work on a Tiny Pico, but it won't work on an S3. So my original plan was to see if I could actually get a keyboard working with SQUIXL. So you could type on a keyboard and see stuff on the screen, like a little terminal, little whatever. But I haven't actually. So I've got the keyboard. I wasn't able to get it ever working with Arduino, but apparently I can get it working with IDF. The stuff I need is in IDF. But I left the keyboard at home in a box with some other stuff that I need. I'll have to go back later and get. Disappointing. Been flashing a SQUiXL board. I need some punishment. Why do you need punishment? Tabletronics. Hello, Tabletronics. Been a long time. I hope you're well. As in the flashing the SQUiXL board is the punishment, or you want us to scold you for touching SQUiXL? Johnny B. Why'd you switch to Johnny B? Johnny. So, see that, Bruce? What? Okay, whatever. I should spend less time looking at a chat. I have a bunch of coding tasks, and we all know Xeon shouldn't code on stream. So, but I have potentially something cool to show you today that I've started working on. It's probably a bit premature to show. No, it's extremely premature to show. But it's probably far enough along that I am sure in some potential way I can get it, actually do it, like deliver on what I'm going to potentially show. So, okay. I don't know what's going on in the chat. Yeah, but before I can do this, I need to. So it's what time is it? We're gonna always wait a couple more minutes to see people. I don't want to go over this multiple times, so I'm just gonna wait a few minutes to see who else pops in, because the current viewers is pretty low, which is fine. Serves me right for missing streaming weeks and having nothing interesting. I've been coding Python, non-stop Python for the last 3.5 weeks. Like real Python. Python on a Raspberry Pi. Full on Python. So yeah. Yes, if your name conflicted with another name, they want out. Is it still switching names? I thought it stopped. It looks here like it stopped. Everyone's names look like they're back to normal. Or is that not the case? Weird. Okay. Well, I'm going to say hi to those folks in chat. Mr. England, first this morning with the oink, eat more bacon. Yeah. So that what we're going to do, what we're going to do. I was singing, who was it? Next, move on. Dutch Taurus, hi. Dayport Jones, hello. Antonio, hello. Beata, good morning or evening. Quindor, good evening. Disc Maker, hello. Graham, hello, Graham. Beaker Bones, hope you're well. David Essa, hi. Daniel, Bruce, Johnny in multiple flavors. X Micron, hello. Tabletronics, said hi to already. Yeah, I'm not going to say hi to Johnny B because I already said hi to Johnny. Johan, hello, Johan. How are you? Life and Cycling, hello. Color Maker. Haven't seen Color Maker in ages. Hello, Color Maker. How are you? Assuming it's the same Color Maker. Hard to know with the numbers on the end. Okay, I think that's everyone that I can say hi to, that I have a name for. I am conflicted with my own name. Now my channel is also what? Really? All is good. Yes, it's you. Good. Glad to hear. Glad to hear. Monster Mark. Hello, Monster Mark. So my life has been consumed of, like, I'm very deep in coding land. Still have a pile of hardware. So client work related. Like I basically had to stall all of my hardware work for the client, just focusing on a massive amount of firmware, rewriting a 15-year-old project, a 15-year-old C++ project. When I say 15 years old, it was started 15 years ago. It's been actively worked on for 15 years without any of the bit rot and technical debt removed. Is that my seat shrunk? My screen grown? Something weird going on? I don't know. Anyway, so and I've been having to maintain this code for the last 3 or 4 months, and I said, nope, not doing it anymore. Not happening. I'm not touching this code anymore. You add something over here, and things all the way over there break. So I literally just how did I do it? I rage decided. Is that a good idea? I was emotionally distraught and made a decision while I was emotionally distraught to rewrite the entire thing, 15 years worth of code, in Python. And I did it. Like I'm almost there. I'm about as of this morning, actually, because I was coding this morning when I woke up. I'm about 90 to 92% done, and it's working, and it's even not terrible Python. I had to do it in sections because there's a lot of business rules around how it runs, and so I had to code all these systems in sections so I could actually run them and test them, because when they're all together, I can't get to them under a lot of circumstances based on what the thing does, right? So right now I'm just trying to finish up getting it all glued together. It's very hard to glue Python together last. But anyway, okay, I don't know how to pronounce that. I'm going to try Abedel Menuem Ali. Is that right? I apologize. Hi, welcome. Dable Jones says C#. No, not a chance. I spent a decade of my life coding in C#, and no. Why would you? Like the app runs on a Raspberry Pi, right? A Raspberry Pi is the brains of the system, though it is power controlled by a MSP 430. So the Pi's not always on. You can't really sleep a Pi. You can kind of sleep a Pi, but not really. They're not designed to be sleeping. So it's actually power controlled via MSP 430, which is all C++, obviously. Why would I code in anything other than Python for these days? Like for so my code's Python. It gets compiled into a single binary for deployment and for upgrades, and it runs as a service. And why would you code in anything else? Honestly, I got nothing against C#, really, but it's bloatware for firstly, it's still not a compiled language. It's still a managed language, right? So it's really no faster than Python, and .NET's not native on a Raspberry Pi, and it's not even great on ARM. Yes, it exists. It's not great, and so you've got all these dependencies and whatever, and reliant on Microsoft. And like, it's not like they've ever done a really good job of updating all of their dependencies and libraries and tools and stuff for their development platforms. I mean, really, you go and do an update, for, or I remember back in the day, the Xamarin stuff, whatever, you wanted to update your C# library for the Mac, and you had to download 3.5 gigabytes of stuff to go from like one version bump. Like, no, Python all the way. Python all the way. It's native. Like it's a, when I say native, it's like a lot of operating systems ship with it. Like obviously Raspberry Pi OS ships with Python, so you don't have to install it. Um, it's native as in that it's the same language, works the same on all computers. It's really well maintained, and gone are the days where there was a whole lot of system level stuff you couldn't do. Like it's a first class citizen on every operating system. Like it really is. And anyway, a lot of Python. It's human readable, and it's and you can write really simple, easy to read Python, and you can write really tight type based Python with data classes and type hints and all those things. So you can go the extreme for the people that want to actually, write, you know, that style of code. And you can also just write ambiguous code where everything is an object and you don't, it's up to you to check if it's the right type of object before you try to do something with it, right? The biggest difference in Python is the indented code rather than the brackets. Well, syntactically laying out, sure, but that's not the biggest difference. The biggest difference is easy to read and understand and super modern language. Like Python is a super modern language compared to C# and whatever else. Like, okay, C# is better, more modern than C++. Anyway, let's not go into a fight about it. This is not a C is better than Python thing, whatever. It definitely performs way fast enough for what I need, and the performance gains we've had so far in the software of things it can do. Like my client still, I did it a few times for him to watch. He didn't quite believe what was happening and how quickly. And anyway, yeah, it's good. It's great. So, but I've been in Python land for a lot. And then when I'm not in Python land for that, I'm in C++ land for a lot of other things I'm working on concurrently. So as I said, I've not been doing a lot of hardware. I've been doing no hardware, unexpected maker-wise, other than manufacturing and shipping stuff. Nothing new. Have some ideas. Have no time. But I have something interesting that I have started, Reflow Master Pro related. But before I do that, I need to. I really need to. I've got a version. I've got the final version of my 3.1.0. So 3.1 of my Reflow Master Pro firmware, which is done and finished. I finished it a few days ago, but I haven't released it yet, and I really should. So I could do a boring thing of getting just that released first, and then I can show you something cool. Or I could skip the releasing it, but then I'll forget, and then it'll be next week, and I haven't released it yet. Should I get it done? Should I just get it released? When I say released, I literally need to copy the files to my server. I should deploy it on a device first, just double check it again. But I'll do that from the. Yeah, anyway, I need to deploy it, and then I need to just update some notes on it. I'm not going to update the web page with all the new features and stuff yet, but at least get it up there so people can download the version. So what do you think? Should I just get that done? I mean, I'll do it live. You'll get to see me do it, which is really so exciting. But I feel like I'm just falling behind with everything I need to do. And then I'll tell you about this other exciting Reflow Master Pro thing. See, no one's answering. No one cares. Everyone's already left. I think I lost everyone when I said Python. 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 Yeah, and everyone's just gone. They all went, what? What a joke. Really? Nah. This quack's using Python. Let's get out of here. Scram. Yeah. Okay, well, I have had to learn Python. We're working on AI over the summer. Yeah, it's a prevalent everywhere. I do also need to find a chip. A chip. We'll get to that in a minute. Hang on, what am I looking for? Read me. So I just need to, this I can't show you. That's okay, you'll live. Flasher, where's Flasher? Reveal. Okay, so cool. Okay, let's go to my, if I go to coding, Nova. I use Nova for basic HTML editing and blah 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 and blah blah blah. Anyway, I don't even know. Is Python? Is Python the one they leave the off at the end? Yes. No, there's no squiggly brackets. There's no semicolon. You can put semicolons if you want to. You can. Python won't crack the shits if you don't. If you do or you don't. Like, or if you do, I mean, yeah. Okay, updater. This is a. Let me just do. You know what I should do? Chrome. And where'd my Chrome go? Right, Reflow Master Pro Firmware Updater. Okay. That's what the page looks like, the updated page, which is ugly, but it works. One day, when I have, time and a couple of sticks I can rub together. Okay, so this is now, I was going to call it Release Candidate 2, but it's now just the official release firmware. I'm going to have to put notes in, but I'm going to, so all I need to do is copy the files over, 1, 2, 3, 4, apply to wall. And I need to add some release notes, but I need to actually go and scrounge through all of my commits. Like, I know a couple of things that I did.
Super chat.
Woo! Who's that? What? Matt! Hello, good morning. Happy streaming day. Thanks, mate. Cheers. There you go. That's my coffee money for after the stream. Why is my logo I just realized my logo is moved. Hang on. I need to fix my logo. Oops. Wrong button. See, look at this. Sign in. Why does it want me to sign? They've busted. See, chat's busted. I don't know why they've done that. Lock. I gave a thumbs up before the stream started. Thanks, Dave. I gave a thumbs down before the stream started because I knew it was going to be shit. Anyway, so you know what I did? I completely re-implemented user data backups, live backups, and fallbacks. What does that even mean? Well, so when you go and save your data, like update your profiles, if there was an issue and they got corrupted or something, then there's a fallback system where it'll go back to the previous version and it keeps them updated. And anyway, I redid the entire logic for all of that stuff in the final version. I what did I change? You know what? I'm going to update these after. I'm just going to leave this for now. I just want to test that it works. I'm just plugging a Reflow Master Pro in, turning it on. Beep, beep, beep. And it says 3.1 RC1. You're not going to be able to see, but 3.1 down the very bottom. Whoops. 3.1 RC1. And I'm going to put it into update mode. Update firmware, select yes, and I'm going to, I need to, I can never remember the key. Which key is it on here? Not that one. Okay, so I'm going to, so 3.1, connect, and let's see if it updates. Install, and if it updates, then that's, I'll do the update notes afterwards, but at least it'll be out. Yeah, I did get permission for BitLooney to use his super chat and super sticker. Yeah. Okay. Uppity. Now, also, I need to update the version so everyone gets notified. Of course, I don't. What version did I set this to? 3.10. 3.10. It updated. Next. Yep. Good. Bye. What did I set the version number to? Okay, 42. So I need to set this to 42. So this number is what. So RMP, if you're on, if Wi-Fi is enabled, it doesn't. It calls back home just to get this number. Nothing's transferred. I don't track anything. I don't store anything. I have no idea who. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's completely. I don't capture anything other than it goes to here and it retrieves a number. And if the number is higher than what it's using, it'll show a notification message to say there's an update available. Hey, Mad Techie. Okay, so that's done. I need to obviously update the. Oh, hello, Steve. Something someone tracks users would say. No, literally, look. All I'm doing when you go to the page. Watch this. Hang on. Sounds like got someone. Yeah, thanks. HTTPS /reflow master pro / latest ver. So hang on, if I go so here, if I just go latest ver, it just returns a number. It's literally returning text. It's not even HTML. There's no anything. There's no PHP, JavaScript, anything, HTML, nothing. It literally, I don't log it. I've got no logging or anything on. I literally just return a number. All that happens. Believe me, don't believe me, I don't care. Whatever. So, yeah, now I have to update the web page and all those. I'll do that later. At least it's out now. At least people will be able to use this new version. So I'm just going to unplug that. And I'm going to plug in my development RMP, which looks kind of the same, except it's green PCB. This was the first revision of my current version, where I moved from the mini modules I was using, S2 mini modules, to just bare silicon. And this version had an onboard antenna, but then I decided to go with external antenna. You can see there's a external antenna for those people that they can mount the antenna on the outside of the case, or for people that are trying to squeeze this inside their oven. Some people do. I don't recommend it, but they do. And that way they've got an antenna that can go outside and not get stuck inside and shielded. Anyway, ET phone home. The rest is done on the server. Yeah. Okay. Well. Whatever. So, let's turn this on. So what I'm about to show you, well, I need to talk about what I'm about to show you. There's nothing to see on device. I mean, it looks the same as the 3.1 firmware, although I'm currently calling this version 4, but I think it might even get a version number and name change. It might not be called Reflow Master Pro anymore from a software point of view. I don't know. So I know a lot of you know about what like Reflow Master Pro is, but I'm sure some of you don't. And so I'm going to actually I'll leave that. I need to do a quick recap because you need to understand why I'm doing what I'm doing. So yeah, I need to change that to 3.1 and talk about the new features. So obviously it's a controller for a toaster oven, right, or whatever. So you can reflow. It's evolved. My original Reflow Master, which was SAMD 21 based, and whatever, that been open source forever. And some of you might remember it took me quite a while to eventually get around to making the Pro. It was in development for quite a long time. Hello, Dave. Good. I'm good. I think everyone here is good. So the main thing with Reflow Master Pro is it's got 3 modes. There's obviously the regular reflow thing where the whole thing was designed to reflow electronics in a toaster oven, right? So it supports reflow graphs that you can create as many as you want, manage your own reflow profiles. It creates, you've got a bake mode where you can basically set a temperature and have it sit at a temperature for however long you want. I think it's limited to, at the moment, 48 hours, 2 days, I think, for things like baking filament, baking electronics, LEDs, whatever you need to do for use. And then recently in the 3.x series, I introduced a new mode, which I call it device test mode, but it's basically lets you do different stage kind of things. So it's not bake, where you just got one thing and it's not designed to be curves, but you build a list. Where's an entry? Do I have an entry page example? Right here. So you add steps and you say, at this step, I want it to be at this degrees for this long, right? Use the fan, yes, no, right? And this step on it, whatever. And it's designed to do things, like put things under load, under heat load, under certain circumstances, right? Anyway, but like it, yeah, kind of, like for burning, like if you want to test a device under a certain temperature range for a certain period of time, right? Or you might want to test it at a high temperature, then drop it to have it cool, and you can obviously kick the fans in to cool it down quicker, and then put it back up to heat again. You can just things like that, right? I can't give you an exact use case of what someone's test might look like, and people aren't using it for that. Like a lot of people are using it for things like annealing or other things. And so here's the thing: I get a lot of people ask me, like a lot, probably over the last year alone, I've probably had about 35 or 40 people have reached out to me saying, "Hey, I saw your Reflow Master Pro. It looks really cool. I want to control my kiln with it. Can I use it to control my kiln?" Not really. I want to smoke meat with it. Can I use it to smoke meat? If you can wrangle what I've got. So there's nothing arbitrary about anything. Like reflow profile is for reflow profiles. You don't have the ability to do anything other than a reflow profile, not just because you're limited in how you enter the data. Like it's designed to allow you to enter the data for a reflow profile, right? That's what it's called. And so you can't add an extra control point, and you can't, it's locked into what it can do because that's what it was designed for. So, can someone kind of wrangle this and make it do something else? Maybe, but it's not what it's for. And the same with baking. Baking is a single value temperature that you hit for a certain period of time. That's it, right? So so people saying in device test, well, how do I do ramping? So this is actually an older version. The new version that's in 3.1 anyway, you have the ability to tell it to wait for the temperature or don't wait for the temperature, but there's no controlled ramping, there's no controlled cooling. It's not what it was designed to do. And all of these three modes have uniquely tuned code for their purpose. But I keep getting asked all the time, I want to use it for this. I want to use it for that. Like I lock the maximum temperature to, I think it's 400 degrees, right? Technically the thermocouples on the Reflow Master Pro can go up to 1300 degrees Celsius or 1377 or something. But I have no way of testing for that. I have no way, not only do I have no way from a hardware point of view of testing anything above 400 degrees, I have no way of testing software point of view what would happen and my max cutoffs and blah blah whatever, right? So I can't in any good conscience let anyone control anything above what I can test on this, right? It's not a matter of will the device live, will the RMP blow up or not. It's will something happen and someone will set the house on fire, right? I'm not going to be responsible for that. So I've locked all that stuff out, and refuse to buy a smoker. Yeah, well, but people they buy them, but then wait, you're telling me it sounds like an excuse to buy a smoker so I can test higher things? Anyway, so I get people ask me that all the time, and then I got people who come on, and I'm going to say bitch. One guy in particular who bitches on my, he pops in every once in a while on the Reflow Master Pro channel on Discord and has a dig at me and a complaint about how inflexible my software is, and then pisses off again. Whatever. So, he goes, why can't I just have manual control of the oven with your software? Well, don't you have manual control on your oven already? What do you need my software to do manual control for? Anyway. But it's been in the back of my head for a very long time about at least the temperature range stuff, right? And then, every once in a while when I'm working on updates for this, I'll look at the code and I'll look at it and go, you know what, maybe if I tweaked this value a little bit, if I added this little thing here, I could then maybe, and I keep thinking to myself, nah, I'm just going to break. What I'll end up doing is I'll be mangling some functionality for a small group of people that might have negative ramifications for a large group of people that use it for the right thing, right? So, yeah. Anyway, it's been in the back of my mind for a very long time, and I was planning on, there's not really a lot I can do in terms of the software. Like their 3.1 release really is solid, and it's got really good functionality, it's stable, and it does exactly what it's supposed to do. Hey, guest on. And it does it really well. So, that could be the point where I go, yeah, okay, there's, nothing major new coming. It'll just be maintenance going forward or whatever. But you know me, I hate coding, so let's take on a coding challenge. So I hope this will still work. Okay. So what I've done is I've decided that I'm going to rip it all apart and start from scratch. I'm redoing the whole entire what is 4.0 at the moment code base. Right now it's being built inside the 3.1 code base because I need other things from it functioning to be able to start working on what I want to do. But as I'm working on things, I'm ripping out other stuff. Eventually it'll be a complete rewrite, or a strip out of 90% of it. Yeah. So, and what I'm doing is I've started this with, if I wanted to give everyone all of the features they wanted, yeah, and I don't even know what they all are, yeah, but if I could give everyone all of the features they wanted out of this, how would I let them do it? How would they actually use it? Like, how would someone who wanted to control their kiln set up a profile? How would someone who wanted to just do reflowing set up a profile? How would someone who wanted to bake? How would someone who wanted to, I don't know what they want to do. I don't know, right? So how could I possibly build a system that allowed people to kind of do whatever they want in terms of I'll call it a profile, right? But, a whatever they want of temperature over time, and have them do that intuitively. And then how would I use what they create to control the temperature of something? Yeah. So thinking it not from I want to make a profile, a reflow profile system. So I do that. And then, okay, how am I going to let them add that data in? Yeah. The other way around, right? Different modes. No, absolutely not. That's the problem. I don't want different modes of operation. One mode of operation. I have 3 modes of operation in here, and that is the problem. If I wanted to add, let's say, in the 3.1 code base, if I wanted to say, fine, I'm going to let someone control a kiln, I need to add another mode, a kiln mode. And then I need to hack kiln mode into an existing set of code that already has 3 modes. That's not what I want. I don't want that, right? So adding modes, unique modes, is the opposite of the solution I want, right? Well, let's forget about the ovens. Forget about the hardware. This is not a hardware thing, right? This is this is purely how does someone set up what they want in a way that is usable, intuitive, that will actually work to control something. And I've come up with something. And yeah. So, hey, Peter, and anyone else that's popped in that I've missed saying hi to. So that was my first thing. I built a like a command system, just whatever. But I don't like that either. It's actually a really bad way to do it, in my opinion. I've got a competing product in the marketplace, the Controlio 3. They do it kind of like that. And really, it's like, I think there are enough people that have to learn how to, it's not a matter of they kind of make it look like just standard English, but their parsing engine is just stupid to be able to support it. Anyway, so I didn't want that. The other thing is, unlike their product, I have a radio in mine and I have a web interface. And I have a really good web interface, which I'm now ripping apart. And so why would I make someone have to remember a whole bunch of commands or a bunch of whatever, or have to syntactically write something in a very specific way to make it do something? You know what I mean? No API. No. It's got to be okay. Anyway, so what I have come up with is, now this is going to be inside the existing other web interface right now. It's going to look ugly, right? Deal with it. It's going to look ugly, and it's not going to match my current. I'm looking at redoing my CSS for it, and so there's a hybrid of old and new in here. And that's large. And it's very much not done. Very much not done. Okay. Now, I've called it. It's called unified profiles at the moment. They're just profiles. Okay. So, apart from the layout, so if I just go to here, hang on, do I have a view of? Right. This is what the profiles page looks like on my current interface, right? You see the idea. No, you haven't seen the ID yet. You haven't seen it. Just wait. You haven't seen it. So right now I've got reflow profiles, bake, and device test profiles, right? And it looks, you think it looks the same, just different visuals, but it's not. So these are just built-in types, but you can make your own. And so the way it works is, if I click edit, okay, here's my profile info, here's my reflow graph, and the reflow graph is generated from, and ignore what the commands are right now, a set of commands. It's just a stacked set of commands, okay? And it's all real time. So before I do anything else, right? So the first command is hold until below a certain temperature. So, and the UI is still very much a work in progress. So the system will hold until it gets to 60 degrees, below 60. So if you've just done a reflow and the oven's sitting at 80 and you put a new board in, you want to reflow it, it won't start till the temperature drops back to 60, okay? And that should be grayed out, whatever. So that'll do a hold, right? And you can do a custom label, hold for start, temp. You see it's all real time, right? Up top, you see that? And then the next command is ramp to, and it's a controlled ramp to 160. And it goes for 90 seconds and it's smooth. But I could also make it linear, and it'll be a controlled ramp. It'll match a linear, but if it's smooth, it'll do a controlled ramp here. Okay, and that's the initial ramp. There's a label on the bottom here. Then it's going to ramp to controlled 175, right, for 100 seconds. I can turn around and say, you know what, I want that to be 200 seconds, all real time. Okay, 100 seconds. I can also make that linear if I want. Then it's going to ramp to the 245, so it does a ramp up here, and then it's going to wait. Okay, it's going to be a wait for, and it'll be whatever the current temperature is. So that's grayed out, not that you can really see right now. You don't have a shape, it's just a wait, right? I can make it sit there for, this is how long it's blown for. I can make that 80 seconds, okay? Then it's going to cool to a controlled cool down to that, and then it's going to cool to an immediate. So controlled and immediate. Immediate means it'll cool as fast as the oven can cool, okay? And we'll get to that. The same with ramping, right? Controlled ramp means you give it a time and a temperature, and it'll control it. If you tell it to immediate, okay, there is no time, it'll ramp as quickly as it can, okay, whatever the oven is capable of doing at that time. So, Can't remember what that was. I'm going to actually, I don't want to update that. So there's a few things I still need to tweak, right? So here's the thing. Here's the commands, right? You can, there's a bunch of different commands right now. I'm still ratifying them all, right? And the whole thing is drag and droppable. So I can grab this. Oh no, hang on. What happened to my drag and drop? Oh, there we go. Right, you can drag any sequence around and change it. I don't have an undo right now. I need to add an undo. Oh no, demo gods, what? So you can just move stuff around. Like you can just, you know, I'm going to put the wait for here. Okay. The idea is it's a real-time interface, fully flexible, that you can kind of make it do whatever you want. You're not limited in the time range. Okay. There's no limit. It doesn't block you. There's no limit in the temperature range. Okay. If you want to go this step up here, the ramp to 1300, sure. I'm not going to stop you. Oh, no, Python was a different project, a client project, code base I'm working on. Okay, I'm not going to stop you on here, on the temperature. Well, so the way it will work is you decide what your max temperature cutoff is. So if you want to get your oven to 1377, right, the max temperature cutoff has to be 1377 or 1378 or above. You decide what your error cutoff overrun state is, okay? Not me. I can't put a max temperature cutoff that works for everyone. You have to do it. You decide. Thanks, Tabletronics. So, just a couple of things. I'm not going to save this, right? So, mode. Okay. Reflow, bake, test. But, and again, UIs, whatever. Manage. Wait, where'd that go? Oh, no. Why is that? I might have broken. That should be a pop-up. Oh, there we go. There's something wrong with my CSS, not loading properly. So you can create whatever mode you want. I'm going to create one called kiln control. Yeah? Add. So now there's a kiln control mode, right? I'm not going to save this. Cancel. Oh, why didn't it add it? Oh, I haven't refreshed the device. Okay. If I would have saved it, it would have added a kiln control. You can create whatever mode names you want, and you can create whatever profiles you want. So if I go this sample, and you can, of course, click on whichever your current one is. So this is the original one that I created to test the system. So if you look here, I'm just doing arbitrary things with it, right? Okay, I'm holding it until 60 degrees, right? So I'm holding it 60 degrees for 60 seconds. So time doesn't change, okay? Because I'm holding. But see here, wait until target. But if I don't tick wait until target, it lets me ramp it. It'll go as fast as I can, but you can tell it to wait. So one of the issues I had with the DUT stuff is it would, as it was changing temperature, the time would still tick. And people were saying, well, hang on, how about drag the graph? No, there's no dragging the graph. No dragging the graph. Dragging the graph is not intuitive. Dragging the graph allows people to break things and not understand what they broke and why or how to fix it. So no, sorry. It's not an interactive graph. It's an interactive command set. The graph shows you what it is you're doing. Anyway, so you got this wait until target thing. Anyway, the point is, it's a fully unified thing, and you can just add a step if you want. So I'm going to ramp back up to 400 degrees, controlled, and it's going to be a smooth. Right? And I'm going to hold for, I'm going to hold at that for, I don't know, 30 seconds. And I'm going to cool to 0. There we go. Whatever, right? I'm going to cool to 0 first before the ramp. Whatever. The point is, any shape, any type of hold, control, not control, if you want to make a graph like this, you can. My RMP will follow the graph. It'll do what you're seeing. So the way this is being built, the way it's all being displayed, the functionality that does it is I've got the same functionality, the same functions in JS and in C++. So whatever is drawing the shape on the graph will also compute the same, exactly the same thing in C++. But the difference is in the C++, when it's actually running the graph, when you're controlling your oven, it's not drawing the graph. It's at any point in time, it can say at 75 seconds, what temperature should I be at, right? And it gives you back a temperature based on the command stack that you're seeing, the same command stack, right? So when that's loaded on the RMP, this is obviously loaded on the web. When it's loaded in the RMP, it's got the same stack, and so it goes all the way through, it can calculates all the way through, and at that time it says this is the temperature I need. So yeah, love it. The fix for feature creep is to have no fixed features. Let the user define the features. Exactly. But I need to do it in a way that it doesn't, like, they can do something stupid like this, but that's on them. Like, they can see this is stupid. That's the point. If this was just a written command set, how would they know what they've done is broken or doesn't work? It would have to be parsed and then somehow displayed. And then, you know what I mean? Like, and, you know, if they spelt something wrong, or if they missed a decimal place, or, you know what I mean? Or if they used the wrong word, and it, you know, like, it's not, I wouldn't want to, like, the customer support required from me for something like that would just be nuts. Anyway, so this is what I've been working on. It's pretty, as you say, it's very early. It's got lots of broken UI. But this is all being served from the RMP, all of it. This is live on the RMP, okay? So yeah, it's not like a demo of some technology that's running somewhere else. Like, it's literally 1.1.144, 1.144, like, it's upside down. That's the actual web server on this RMP right now. Right, the commands are shown in the graph, and you can put, they're a bit janky, but you can put custom labels on them, right? So you can decide, like, so some commands don't need the command written, okay, like hold until, right? Because it's sitting there doing nothing, like this, you're not quite sure what it's doing, so there's a hold until. Or here, this wait 0, well, I've got a wait 0, wait for 0. Let's make wait for 10. No, 40. Wait for 40 seconds, whatever, right? This block shows as a wait for, because otherwise, like, anyway, but you get control over the labels, custom for you, so you can call them what you want, right? It doesn't have to be soak, ramp, reflow. It can be whatever. And it will word wrap as well. Not very well at the moment. Stability wait for the sun to rise. Right? I mean, it's got some basic word wrapping. Hey, Christian. Now you've done that. Why didn't you do it that way the first time? Right. Well, because the first time it was just a reflow controller. That's all it was. That's all it needed to be. So this is how I'm going to. I mean, this is going to take a long time to finish implementing, like like a brand new RMP. But this is where I'm heading. I really want to ship a new major version of the software that becomes more anything for anyone if they want it, right? And the other thing that I've added, although there's no, or I'm adding, there's nothing showing it here yet, is that you'll be able to do an add from template. So I'll have so it'll ship just like my normal RMP ships with some built-in reflow profiles. It'll ship with some reflow profiles. Like this SAC 305 one is actually that's a real SAC 305 profile, right? I'll ship with a bunch of reflow profiles. I'll ship with a bake LEDs profile and a bake filament profile, whatever. But there will be a for people that don't want to have to do it from scratch. I mean, there's a copy, but for people that want whatever, I will have some templates. Like you'll be able to say add from template, and you can say add a reflow profile, right? And it'll give you all the steps for a reflow profile, and you just fill in the time and the temperatures, yeah, stuff like that to try to make it easy. So you don't have to. People don't have to from scratch go. Here's an empty graph. Where do I start? Right? There'll be a built-in layout. Is there a live view on the web server where you can follow the progress? Where you can follow the progression, or where? Oh, while it's going, yeah, that's already. I've got that. That's already in the current version. So this here is a live. Says a runtime. So this shows you live in this case what is happening with your reflow. This is in the current software. There will be on the new one for sure. Things going nuts. So I've got a live mode for bake. And here's the problem. Right now, I have to do a live mode for every mode. I have to do a profile edit screen, right, for every mode. I have to do validation for every mode. I have to do blah for every mode. And then I have to do runtime for every mode. And it's just a pain. I don't want to do that going forward. I don't want to add more modes. I want to make one profile editor, one runtime for it, one web view runtime for it. That's it. The other thing I'm planning on doing, and it's going to be a much harder problem to solve, because everyone thinks it's an easy problem, but that's because they've never made a reflow controller for a toaster oven before, is I'm going to remove my classic. So right now, Reflow Master Pro ships with a classic algorithm, which is my own algorithm, or you can enable PID, right? But people complain all the time there's no auto-tuning for PID in Reflow Master Pro. And the fact is, you can't, right? And everyone's going to tell me, oh, you're wrong. You can't. You can't auto-tune PID for a toaster oven. So lots of people disagreeing with me. I don't care. Okay, PID is hard enough to use when you have when your target is always a moving target, right? So PID is all about getting to a stable value, yeah? And if what you're trying to get to is moving, that's already harder, okay? But if the thing it's trying to get to is moving and the characteristics of how to get to that target changes as it's moving, that's near impossible, okay? So imagine you have a robot, balancing robot, and you're trying to use PID to make it steady itself, yeah? Great. Now, that's hard enough to get as it is, but you can get it. There's plenty of examples of people getting a really stable robot, and you push it and it does this and it fixes itself, whatever, yeah? The thing about that is it is a fixed target, meaning that the motor or step or whatever else, its acceleration is known and it's fixed. It's the item's weight is known and it's fixed. The everything about it is fixed. It's a known thing. Now, imagine if this robot, if it was on the right-hand side of the table, it weighed 1 kilogram, and if it was on the left-hand side, it weighed 5 kilograms. The same robot. And in between, it changed how much it weighed. Yeah? How would your PID solution, which is a single set of numbers, how would that work at one extreme and the other extreme and in between? Okay? Now imagine that in between, yeah, was it was not linear, it was a graph, it was a curve, but it wasn't a log curve. It was a completely non-mathematically plottable curve. How would you ever tune the robot to work exactly the same through all ranges of that? You can't. PID is hard enough to get that going. How would you ever auto-tune it? Okay, you'd have to auto-tune it for every temperature or break it down to blocks of temperature, let's say every 10 degrees or every 20 degrees, right? So, right, you need characterized curves, which I've already got in Reflow Master 3.1, Pro 3.1, but even with those characterized curves, you still can't really tune PID to those. So the problem with the toaster oven is it doesn't heat linearly. It heats up, the colder it is, I shouldn't say the colder, the faster, because a lot of them also ramp really slowly at the start. It takes time for the heaters to kick in, right? And then pretty much all toaster ovens, their last 20, like let's say the toaster oven maximum temperature is 220, right? That last 20 degrees might take 4 times longer to get all the way up to than 160 to 180. But it's not it's a totally not plottable curve without characterizing every single degree. So people push back at me all the time about PID tuning and PID. Like I support PID. You can choose PID mode in here. You can choose either. And I've got runtime tuning of PID, right, where you can change the values real time while it's going, but there's no other way to do it. But you can't do auto tuning for PID. It doesn't make any sense. But I'm going to try with this. I've already started work on my oven characterization code from 3.1, which basically does at the moment it just does it in increments of I can't remember what I ended up setting it to. I might have actually shipped it at 75 degree steps. I might have shipped it at 100. But anyway, I've got a characterization system that I can make it step through a range of temperatures and calculate a ramp rate at those steps and a cool rate, or not a cool rate, but a back to, like, so when it overshoots, because they'll always overshoot, and then how long it takes it to self-cool. Because that's the other thing. An oven, its cool rate, and toaster oven doesn't have cooling capability, right? I'm not talking about a convection with a fan or whatever, but that still isn't for cooling. That's for circulating. So a toaster oven is really good at getting hot, and it's the worst ever at getting cold, right? Without user intervention, like opening a door or something. So I need to know how fast an oven can ramp, but the ramp rate is different across the whole range of temperature. And I have to know how fast it self-cools, which is also different at every temperature range. And then, of course, my current Reflow Master Pro has 2 auxiliary ports. So you can technically connect 2 fans to it. So depending on how the user configures those, no fan, 1 fan, or 2 fans, you can help the oven cool down quicker. So I need to be able to characterize arbitrarily with those auxiliaries as well how fast it can cool. So right now, this, if you look at this, where it does a immediate, so this ramp to here, the immediate to 150, right? That there is based on just a number, a default number that I've chosen. I've got a default ramp rate and default cool rate. Okay, they're not accurate to any particular oven. I think the RAM rate's a little bit faster than what most toaster ovens can do. The cooling is definitely quicker than most can do, but that's what it uses for now. But if so, the system's designed that if you have characterized your oven, it'll use those values, and it'll use those values in the temperature ranges that it's in, right? So it'll show you a fairly accurate ramp rate if it's in immediate mode based on what your oven will do, right? And if you're in a controlled state, it will again, okay, let me just take a step back. So if you try to do a ramp that is faster than what your oven can do, the system will tell you. The plan is to make that section red in the graph, and with a label that says this exceeds your oven's capabilities, right? You know, ramp, you've chosen a ramp rate of 4.5 degrees per second. Your oven can only do 2.5 degrees per second at this thing here, right? And the same with cooling. If you tell it to cool immediate, so if I tell it not to be controlled but immediate, no, wrong one. What? Hang on. Oh, sorry. I was expecting it to change like that. So if I said this, right, I want this to get to 100, this will go whatever the rate is that your oven can cool. If your oven can only cool at 1 degree per second, this is going to show a spline 1 degree per second, right? But if you have an auxiliary connected to a fan and that's been characterized, it'll show you based on what the fan can make it do, right? It's a really complicated problem. So if I can get all the characterization right and I can get small enough windows of ramp rates, yeah, so that's not enough to electronics. Like 0 to 100 is not enough. The ramp differences in that range is massive. And it also depends what your default ambient is in the room. And it depends on how quickly your elements can actually get to temperature to start with, right? Because they're slower at the start. So probably I'd probably want to be doing it at worst 50-degree steps, but 25-degree steps. The problem is to characterize a toaster oven with 25-degree steps, it might have to sit there for an hour and a half doing it, right? Especially because of the cooling steps. If there's no active cooling on a toaster oven, like it might do that 25-degree ramp and calculate that in a minute, let's say, right? And then the overshoot and calculate the cool down for that step, it could sit there for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, right? And because I also need to be able to calculate the inertia. So it's not just how quickly can I ramp from 25 to 50, it's then how much, because it needs to do that at 100%, right? I need to know at 100% the fastest it can ramp. But I can't turn off 100% till it gets to the 50. Then there's going to be an overshoot, okay? And depending on the oven, the thermal mass and how well it's insulated, it could get to 150 before it starts coming down. The problem, right? So I need to know how fast it can ramp. I need to know what the overshoot is at every step. And I need to know so how quickly it gets to the plateau. And then how quickly does it come down? And that's not linear, right? So, it's going to progressively slow and progressively cool. It's a nightmare. Like it really is. Like my current characterization code, which does a lot of this stuff, is a really complex piece of code. It adds a shit ton of data as it's running, which then it has to go through and collect and separate and like I tag things, and then it's got to process it and try to give me results at the end. It's a real challenge. Too much of a challenge for a product like this, really. But if I can solve that, with enough fidelity, then I can potentially do auto tuning for each section. And if I did auto tuning for each section, it won't be perfect, but that would be enough, hopefully, that people could then tweak if they needed to, but it would allow a pretty good PID control along the way. But I have no idea how that would work for really crazy graphs that people make. And the only way to ever know is to have a finished product using it with crazy graphs and see if it can even do it. It's a big question mark, right? And yeah. And the fallback would be my own algorithm again, which works pretty well most of the time. Hello, Paul. What? Paul Jot Aviator? Paul Jot Aviator? Something like that. I apologize. I mangled your name. But hello, welcome. So anyway, that's been my challenge. I guess I've been sorry, I totally missed this. Been giving a class on PID tuning for industrial applications this week. No comment on PID or auto tuning. Yeah. This is not an oven profile, but yes. Yes. Well, that is an oven profile of what the profile is. Don't know. This is a reflow profile. Yes. So anyway, that's what I'm doing. That's how I'm planning on solving this problem, and it looks like it's going to work. And it would then allow me to let people use this bit of hardware to control whatever they want. And then what I'd like to do is allow people to submit their profiles to my RMP, to my server, right? So if someone has a particular kiln and they've set up a profile for whatever they're doing, ceramics in the kiln or whatever, and they've got a profile for what they can publish their profile, they can share it, and then other people can download that profile onto their device and use it if they've got that kiln, or they can download it, modify it, whatever. So I'd like to be able to put together a central repository, because this is, there was no point. I was originally planning on doing that for Reflow Master Pro, but it made no sense, because at the end of the day, 3-4 different reflow profiles is enough pretty much for 95% of people out there. And if you need to tweak it a bit, well, you tweak it, right? You take an existing one and you copy it, make it your own, and tweak the values, and you're done. There was no point building an online repository of them because there were so few. But now it's arbitrary, right? People can use it for whatever they want. And if someone is doing, they've got a particular oven and they're annealing whatever, I've had people like annealing knives and stuff. They can then, if they've got a really good profile for their oven, they can publish it, right? And they can write the specs of the oven or whatever else, and they can, the whole thing will go up and people can use it, or people can reference it. So I think there's some really good potential for this, but it is so much work still. I mean, this was a lot of work. This really was a lot of work. And as you can see, it's still not working great. I've still got so much to do and clean up and fix. I've got caching issues with, using JS and CSS. So normally, if the stuff is served in the page with the HTML, there's no caching issues. But obviously, it makes the file that's sending out massive. I mean, the JS code behind this is ugly right now, totally ugly. I hate JS. I really do, and it's massive. Like I've had to split it to 2 different files because the ESP32 has trouble serving such massive files. For setting profile on PCB, you need thermo prof. I don't know what that is. I'm not sure what you're, sorry. So this, just let you know, this is a reinvention. This is a new way of looking at profile creation compared to how I currently do it with my Reflow Master Pro, right? So it's a reinvention. Right, there's a Reflow profile here. Yeah, so what I'm showing is something that's in development. Yeah. So how cool is that? Anyway, I'm pretty excited by it, but I'm not excited by how much work there is still to do. And the amount of testing I'm going to need to do, right? And as I said, the whole firmware is I'm planning on redoing everything. So everything about how it looks and works on device, the whole interface on device is changing. The obviously the way it works here is changing. It's crazy amount of work. Oh well. And now I'm scared I've shown this too early, and I'm going to hit a roadblock on something, and then I'm going to have to renege. But we'll see. We'll see. So as I said, I've been deep in coding land for a while, and for this foreseeable future. My other challenge is I need this to be 100% fully compatible. Like I'm not pairing this with new Reflow Master Pro hardware, right? So this has to work and do everything it needs to do on the current hardware. If I ever respin new hardware or not, whatever, but 100%, like I want this to work on everyone's Reflow Master Pro. From the very first model I ever shipped, which is still 100% compatible with the current version, right? I've never made any breaking hardware changes that the software won't work on. I want this to be 100% fully compatible with everyone's Reflow Master Pro out there. Now, one challenge, I'm sure I can solve it, but I haven't decided if I'm going to yet, is I don't know if I'm going to upgrade everyone's existing profiles that they've already got on their device. I know that might be nasty if I make them re-add them. Part of me right now is thinking, nah, they can re-add them. I'm not gonna convert them over, but I probably will. I don't know about the DUT ones, but yeah. Was that? No, it's good to let people know, keep you motivated to deliver. Engineers don't. Wait, my window's off the side. Engineers don't do without constraints. Yeah, I know. But I'm also, as I mentioned, extremely time poor at the moment. I've got like my client work commitments is still right up there. Like I'm it's pretty much consuming all of my time. I'm only getting 1, maybe 2 days a week at the office here, and most of that's manufacturing. So, you know, I'm working on this at, an hour here, 2 hours there. Don't want to start a new challenge on this, a new task on this bit of firmware for the client. So I'm just going to jump back on this for an hour. It's hard. Jumping around is hard.
Chat has disconnected.
And it's back. Ooh, I got PCBs coming today. Yay. Oh, wait, I've got something else I can show you. So I did make I've got it's not new hardware. Oh, okay. I wasn't going to announce this yet. Maybe I will. So I have, it's going to bite me in the ass. I've not even tested it. Okay. I don't know when it's shipping. It's not a new product. It's just an update on an existing product. Hang on. Let me. Okay. I'll show you, but this is, I don't know when this update is shipping, right? It might not be for a month or two. Yeah. Okay. So I ran out of panels for my Tiny S3, which is fine. Went to order new panels, but I thought, hang on, before I order new panels, there's a persistent question I get from people, some people, about how can they charge a battery? How can they have USB connected and have the battery charge, but not have the Tiny S3 powered, right? And the answer is you can't. There's no way of doing that, right? Like, you know, people put switches on the battery, and so they can turn off the Tiny S3, but then they can't charge the battery because the switch is off, right? I get it. It was never designed to do that. So, but I did this. So yeah, I get a lot of people have asked me that question, right? So on the Feather S3, the EN pin for the regulator is broken out. So you can connect something like a switch to that EN pin, right? And if you, between the EN pin and ground, and if you turn the switch on, so if it grounds the EN pin, then the regulator turns off, okay? And if you don't ground that pin, then the regulator is on, right? So the fact is, I don't have any header space to do that on the Tiny S3, and the Tiny S3 had to be compatible with the Tiny S2, which had to be compatible with the Tiny Pico, and the footprint is fixed, and I can't just add another header pin, right? So it was complicated. The other question I get so many times, right, is how can I stop the power LED from turning on when I plug in the USB? Like I plug USB in. How do I? Where's the switch? Where's the software control to stop the red LED from turning on? So the answer people always give in Discord when people ask is, well, you can desolder it, desolder the power LED so it doesn't work, or you stick some tape over it, or put some nail polish over it, right? That and the EN pin are the two most asked questions about my Tiny boards. So I thought to myself, I'm going to see if I can solve this. So what I did was, on my next revision, so it looks almost exactly the same. There's an extra resistor on here, right here, this extra resistor, right? So it's the same, everything else for my Tiny S3D, yeah? But on the back, I now have, so you already had the ability to cut the jumper to turn the charge LED off, but there's now also a jumper to cut the power LED. So if you cut that jumper, the power LED won't light up, okay? And I've broken out a pad as big as I can get on the back for the EN of the LED, of the LDO, sorry. So it's not as nice as a header pin. I can't do a header pin. I can't change the headers, okay? But you can technically solder a wire to that pad, and if you ground that pad, the LDO will turn off. And if you don't ground it, the LDO will stay on, okay? It's on by default. So that gives you the same thing, it's just not on a header. And I made the pad as big as I can, so it's bigger in shape than the annular size of the header pin, so it should be easily solderable. I don't recommend bridging those two together, okay? But this now allows people to do both those things on the board. It's a minor revision, but I've only got my prototypes coming today. It could be a month or so until I've got these in production and they're available, right? So it's not quite a new shiny thing, Mr. England, but anyway, it's a P2. It's a P2 revision. It's a minor revision with a couple of quality of life things. Now, I don't need to do the EN on the Feather S3, but I'd like to also do the power LED change on the Feather S3. I actually just ran out of Feather S3 panels over the weekend, right? I built my last lot. So I've still got plenty of stock of Feather S3s, even if I did make the change. But I'm going to, before I order new panels, I'm going to add the power jumper to the Feather S3 as well, so people can cut that off. And I just got a whole stack of Pro S3 panels a couple of weeks ago. So it's going to be a while before you see a change like this on the Pro S3, but I will also add these things on the Pro S3 as well. So yeah, it's just a quality of life thing, but I thought that was, yeah. The reason I didn't want to show it is I can't tell you when it's going to come out, and I don't know when, even if I made the first batch today, it could take ages until they propagate out through resellers and stuff. Like, I don't know if you were to buy a tiny S3D from, Adafruit, Mouse, or whatever else, or technically even from me over the, however long period, I can't tell you which version you're going to get, right? If Adafruit were to order more stock of the tiny S3D, then there could be some of this type and some of the other type. They won't separate them. You'll get what you get, right? So it's going to be a while until these roll out where you can guarantee you'll get one of this version, which is why I was reluctant to show it right now. But I thought showing it, like I don't ignore people. When people ask stuff, especially if it's the same questions coming up enough times, like I don't like deliberately ignore it. Like if I can solve it, I will. But there's more to the challenge of solving something like this than just sticking a jumper or sticking a pad. It's rolling them out, making them available, how long it takes till they seed into places, and also, if I had, let's say I normally buy panels for these, 1,000 at a time, not 1,000 panels, but enough to make 1,000 tiny S3s at a time when I buy panels, right? So if I had enough panels sitting here for 1,000 of them, there's no way I would throw them out to do these ones. Like, I'm not going to throw away, $400 worth of PCBs and a stencil, right? Just to roll this one out. Like, I wouldn't do that. Like, it's So yeah, it's going to be a transition. They'll be available when they're available. And I guess technically, if I'm selling them, if the orders are coming from me directly, I could push these ahead, but it just means it'll take resellers longer to get them. So I don't know. Anyway, so there it is. That's coming today. That's all. And it was a rejig on the top, unfortunately. So it's a new stencil. Sucks. But yeah. Okay. Wow. Thanks, Jisk Maker. It's a little update. Nice update. I think that's it. I don't really have much else. What else have I got to share? What else is coming to? Oh, right. So, well, it's not the right place to share this, but I will anyway. Oh, is that Alan? Hello, Alan. I didn't recognize your name. So, Tiny Pico is coming to end of life in its current version. Some of you might remember I have designed a Tiny Pico D. I do have a Tiny Pico D and even a Tiny Pico Nano D. but hang on. But they are not backward compatible with Tiny Pico. So some of you might remember this, some of you might not. Where is it? Sorry, I'm looking for, right. Okay, well, back to here again. So this is my Tiny Pico D. It's footprint compatible. It is not backward compatible from a pinout, from a IO number point of view. Yes, much better, Johnny. So here's the thing. Especially if they're phasing out the D4, they're not for new things. I managed to get another 800 the other week. They're really hard to get. They're not available anywhere anymore. Unless I want to pay $8 US per chip from DigiKey or Mauser. So it's an end-of-life product, the D4, finally, right? And I've only got about 300 left. And, of course, the antenna that I use on my Tiny Picos, that old Ignian antenna, they've been discontinued for ages. I don't have many left. I think I've got maybe 100, 150 antennas left, and that's it, right? As soon as they were phased out, I bought, I can't remember how many I bought, three reels or something. I'm just spending my last now. So once I can't make that, like once there are no more antennas, I can't make any Tiny Pico or Tiny Pico Nanos, right? Well, I can make the Tiny Picos with the UFL connector because they're still separate boards for now, right? I mean, the Tiny Picos had a really, really good run. I still sell a stack of them still, right? I sell probably an equal amount of Tiny Picos as I do Tiny S3s. So, which is crazy, blows my mind. But I've got a version of the Tiny Pico where design-wise, where it was the same Pico D4, but with a new antenna. Okay, that was always going to be my option. Well, the Tiny Pico was the first. It was what, 2018? Was that 2018 or was it 19? When did I launch my crowd supply campaign? Although I was using a different antenna then. But yeah, the Tiny Pico, that was the first. That's what kicked all this off. I mean, it wasn't my first product, but that's what kicked all this off. Right? That's what kicked off my fun journey of pick and place machines. So a long time. I've been making and supporting this board for a very long time. So I have a hybrid version where it's the D4 and a new antenna. But the D4 is, I mean, I guess I could go to Espressive and order 5,000, no, it'll have to be like 6,000, 10,000 chips. But I'm not going to. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. And so there is a replacement chip, which has got a different name. I've mentioned this on stream before. It's a Pico V3. So D4 V3. But it's not pinout compatible. It's got more flash. It's got less PSRAM, but faster PSRAM. So it's got 8 mega flash instead of 4 mega flash. Double the flash. 2 mega PSRAM instead of 4 mega PSRAM. So half the PSRAM, but the PSRAM is faster. But the pinout is different. Some of the pins are the same. Some of them are different. So they're drop-in compatible from a footprint point of view, but they're not from an IO point of view. So I don't know how I would support the different versions. Like, I'd have to make another profile, like another board entry for Arduino and another set of, board build files for CircuitPython and for MicroPython. And there'll be 2 versions of Tiny Picos out there. I don't know what I would call this new one. But if I do the D, then the D is the thing that sets it apart, right? So is that the one with GPIO 7 and 8 available? Yes, 7 and 8. There is no IO 20 and 35 and 34 and those ones are all reserved. They're used internally by the flash. So hang on, let me where'd I put the I go unexpected maker. ESP32 Tiny Pico. Okay, so not 35. I mean 20. 23 is it 23 is not available? Okay, that doesn't work. How do I? Hang on. Rotate. Which one am I rotating? Not that one. That one. Okay. We can get these side by side. Okay, so you can see here, okay, there's no IO4. There's 14, 15, 27, 26, 25. I've got 25, 26. There's no 27. On this side, it's over here because I don't have 23. I think 19 and 18, 18 is not available. It's messy, you know what I mean? So I've had to shuffle all the IO around. I tried to keep as many as I can the same. So 33, 32 are the same. 21 and 22 becomes 8 and 7. You know, it was, yeah. So the footprint the same, but IO numbering is not the same. Functionality is the same, but obviously this has got the dual antenna on it for the D series, where right now they're two different boards. And of course, I have not done the cut on the back or broken out the EN thing because I've not actually gone to manufacture these yet. I've only got some samples of these chips. The chips are also more expensive, like almost 2 times more expensive than the D4. So it makes it a more expensive board. This obviously has the fuel gauge, which this doesn't have, right? So it's the same as the D series on my other ones. I2C fuel gauge. It's got the new, well, that's that one. It's got the new charge IC compared to that. So anyway. But it looks like, I was hoping I could go another 6 months or so with Tiny Pico, but it looks like I'm going to, based on the number of boards I've had ordered and what I've had to build, I reckon within the next month, maybe 2, I won't be able to make any more. That's it. I'll be done. So, yeah, I need to solve. And what brought this up again today is someone just asked me. I got asked on email. Is the Nano S3 the replacement for the Tiny Pico Nano? Am I still going to keep making Tiny Pico Nano? And I had to answer them with, well, I hang on. The Nano. Right. And here's the Nano that is in. That's the dual antenna Nano. So I had to answer them with, well, I won't be able to get D4 soon, and I'm almost out of. Oh my God. Hello. Wow. It's been a while. I'm also not, I can't, like I'm out of antennas. Like I literally got maybe 100, 150 antennas left, and that's it. So I do have these boards prepared, the designs prepared, but I just don't know. I don't know if I'll make a new version of the Tiny Pico Nano. It's not going to be compatible with the current version of Tiny Pico Nano, and the fact is the Nano S3 is a better replacement. I mean, it's twice as much flash, twice as much PS RAM, BLE5, native USB, blah, 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 right? So, but I've not made a dual version of I don't have a D version of my Nano S3 because I can't fit it in. The Nano S3 is packed tight, not enough room to do the dual antenna on it unless I make it bigger. Problems, so many problems. So how's things? Are you still posting videos? I don't think I've seen any videos from you for a while, or anything. Yeah, dilemmas. Dilemmas. Poor tiny Pico. It's been like 6 years. That's not bad. I mean, people asked me at the start if I no, it doesn't work that way. The cost for me to launch it is massive. Like the investment for me to make a tiny Pico Nano D is huge. It's like thousands and thousands and thousands of US dollars of a commitment. More. Right? So yeah, that's not something that the market can do, that it can decide for me. It's a commitment, right? Like I have to buy the Pico V3 chips on reels. So I'm looking at $4,500 US dollars for a reel of Pico V3s, right? Not including the panels. They're expensive panels because they're castellated on 3 sides. Going to manufacture them, test them, set up new testing jigs and firmware and stuff, build all the Arduino, CircuitPython, MicroPython support for them. It's a huge amount of work to release a product. So I can't really let the market decide. And then something like the Tiny Pico Nano, which is designed to be integrated on someone else's board, they have to change their board design to work with the new version. So, yeah. Hello, Jay. I wonder if this is the best application for AI to answer these dilemmas. I would not ask AI for the answer for this. A megabyte about you'll have to buy 3,000 or even 5,000 even to get them from Espressive. Yeah, I buy all my chips directly from Espressive. I have to buy reels. So yeah, there's 2,000 on a reel, and I could buy just a reel of 2,000, but I'm at the worst price break. So yeah, it's a massive commitment. But if I do a tiny Pico D, then I'm committing to those chips anyway, right? And if I'm committing to the chips, then trialing a Tiny Pico Nano D is less of a risk. Yeah, their minimum order quantity is high. It's normally 6,000, like 3 reels. Yeah, you got to remember though, I've been working with them for a long time, and so maybe I get special treatment. I don't know. I mean, I bought a lot of Espressive product, right? Like for I mean, not as much as other people, sure, but for a solo maker, right? Yeah, I know you have as well. I don't know how much you bought, but like yeah, I bought a lot of chips. Can't believe it sometimes. I actually regret not keeping all of the reels for all of the like the big ticket items, like my Espressive chips. Not keeping them all so I can look at them all, stack them all up, and just see how big and how many. Talk about an in-depth, obfuscated cost-benefit analysis. But how would the AI work that out? Too many factors. And I know what the answer is though already. Like I don't need the AI to tell me that. I know, like I've done this enough. I've released enough products. It's also just it's a shit climate to release products in, has been for a while. So not only is there absolute product fatigue in the microcontroller space, especially the SP32 space, but overall in the microcontroller space, there's absolute product fatigue. But I don't know about you guys, but I've not heard anything. Oh, me, yeah, right. I've not heard anything about potential improvements to the cost of living crisis coming from our government. Crickets. I'm pretty sure you're all the same. Like, has anyone cost of living situation improved? Has anyone's electricity prices gone down? Food and grocery prices, gone down? Petrol gone down? Anyone? So it's not like, so I'm not making this a political thing, but it's not like, people have got loads of extra cash now to spend. Like it's the worst climate that, in decades, speaking to people, to be releasing new products into, especially these type of products. No government, it's an absolute disaster. Yeah, it's just everywhere. There's no one's got a plan. I don't have one either. Like, I don't know what a plan would be. No one's got a plan. Yeah, I know. The rebate really did a good job, didn't it? Yeah. Right. So I'm really reluctant to release any new products, especially products that I have to outlay that type of money in. So I don't know. I might just have to let Tiny Pico go and just end it. I mean, at the end of the day, I if I'm being honest, I don't know why someone would choose a Tiny Pico over a Tiny S3. Right? But, right. Sorry, when I say they don't have a plan, right. I think we don't want to make this political. I don't. Yeah. I think there are plenty of governments that like the status quo at the moment. Anyway. I hope so. Gaston, I hope so. I would like nothing better than things get turned around for everyone. So, yeah, I'm a strong believer in not releasing products into the wrong market, or into the wrong market conditions. I can't afford to do that. Like, I'm right. I've spoken openly about this in the past. Like, I'm going out of business, slowly going out of business at the moment. It's been pretty terrible over the last 12 or maybe 18 months. It's been, and I can't. I'm not risk averse, but I can't double down on, that type of investment for such a niche product like a nano that is only used by people who are integrating it onto another board. And if they already have a commitment for a design and they have to change their design to work with my redesign, it's just not going to happen. Like, I had that experience just recently with a local client who, was integrating my Pro 3 into something they were doing, and they were, buying batches of 25 at a time, on and off, but fairly regularly. And so, they came to me the other day and said, hey, we need another 25 Pro S3s. And I said, okay, well, just letting you know, since your last order, the Pro S3's changed, is now Pro S3D. And though it's completely drop-in compatible, it's now got dual antenna instead of single. It doesn't have the divider for the battery now. It's got a fuel gauge on it, and blah 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 blah. So it will be able to be plugged. Oh, and the battery connector's in a different spot. It will be able to be plugged in and work exactly the same way on your board, but you might have to make some changes and accommodations for it. And they are now not using Pro S3 in their design anymore because they didn't want to change it. Okay, so it happens. There's nothing I can do. I'm not going to keep making the old one and the new one. And if they were ordering 2,500 of them every couple of months, I'll keep making the old one for them, no problem. But at 25 at a time, it's not worth my effort to split my my parts making old designs on the odd chance that people might want them. So I just can't do that. It's maybe 2 years ago, Xeon would have been crazy enough to keep doing that, but I can't do that now. Like, I'm buying the minimum amount of components I can buy at a time. I mean, all my prices have gone up. My prices have gone up anyway. I don't know what's going on with. I mean, I know there's this RAM, computer RAM thing, whatever, but it's there's some of my components have like gone up again, which is frustrating. And then I have the problem where I'm buying lower quantities of them, which means the prices go up. And I'm trying to maintain a balance between buying enough product to keep the prices at a level where I don't have to raise my prices, but also not tying up all of my money in parts, and then when I need something else, I can't afford to buy them. So it's a really it's tricky. Like my fuel gauges went up 3 times the price just before my Series D released. They've now gone up again. I don't understand why. I guess supply and demand. Maybe I don't know. I haven't ordered parts in forever. Not a lot of groundbreaking projects either. Just saying. Okay. Wait, I asked you, doing projects now, working on a mobile app all year, and also decided to step back a bit. Was tough. Fair enough. So it was tough deciding to step back, or you decided to step back because things were tough. Oh, mobile apps. Oh, shiver. Been there, done that. Yeah, sure. Uh-oh. Jay has a plan on solving the cost of living crisis. Yeah. Maybe we don't talk about it here just in case. No, I don't think the fabs are pivoting to more. I mean, a fab that is capable of doing those type of production things, like those what are they called? Those processors, aren't making the chips that I'm talking about, right? Like the expressive chips use I think they're still using an 80 nanometer process, right? 80 nanometer, not 2 nanometer, or 1, or 4, or 3. Like, they're completely different fabs, right? The fabs that are doing 80 nanometer process aren't trying to get into 2 or 4 nanometer process. They're not, right? It's a different ball game, different whatever. I don't know if it's just a capacity thing still. I know that also, like buying chips of Espressive right now, I mean, they've always had lead times. I've always managed to get faster than their lead times, but now, their lead times are back to 5 to 8 weeks. I need to buy more S3 chips, and I just got told it's like 6 weeks lead time to get chips. So if I run out during that 6 weeks, I'm screwed, right? I can't make boards. So I know that's never really happened to me even during the silicon shortage, I wasn't seeing lead times like that. So I don't know what's going on. Something's going on. Bit of both. Making videos is way too hard on me. Consume way too much time in life. Yep, know that feeling. Been fun making something crazy complex. The coding tools are insane now. They are. They definitely are. Yeah. Star Trek's not crazy, but it is a dream. It's only a dream. Yeah, I know. It's not going to happen. The world revolves around greed. So yeah. And each generation teaches the next how to use greed to their benefit. So yeah. 1000 nanometer. I don't know what what were they? No, they were in the hundreds of nanometers. I don't know. Does anyone know what like a 386 was, or 286? What they were? Like in terms of a process node? Yeah. Anyway. Okay, it's now 2 hours, or in 10 seconds will be 2 hours. I need more coffee. I need some breakfast. I need to get back to coding. I'd love to code this Python stuff I'm doing right now and show you what I'm doing, but I can't. Obviously, it's a client project and it's not something I can share. I can't share what it is or the functionality or even the code. But oh my, I've actually really enjoyed. This is the first time I'm doing it like a serious full-on Python project. I mean, all my test jigs run Python, and then all my testing is either CircuitPython or MicroPython, whatever. I've done a little bit of Python. Like I've done quite a bit of Python, but this is the first. This is a full-on application. Like 16 different Python files, shit tons of classes, and just shit tons of functionality. And I've actually really enjoyed it. Mike, good timing. Just in time to pass me the coffee emoji before shutdown. What's Johnny posted? Yeah, I know we're not in a good direction, Jay. I know we're not. Globally, we're not. But I think we're still generations away from even being able to think that way as a planet. But anyway, no Stack Overflow, right? No, you've swapped people posting the wrong information on Stack Overflow with AI giving you the wrong guidance. So it's about the same. I actually posted something on Twitter that happened to me with Codex the other day. So I've actually been I've like seriously now worked for other code bases, other things with Codex, which is ChatGPT's coding thing, Gemini, which is really they've completely broken it, and Claude. I'm actually hit and miss, totally hit and miss all the time between different code bases and different things. But I did something. I've come up with an interesting use case for using a coding AI. So just quickly before we travel off, before I go, and I'm actually now, shock horror at the moment, paying $180 a month for Claude. Yeah, right, to be able to use Claude code. I've been paying $20 a month for ChatGPT for whatever, a year and a half now, whatever, because it's cool to, like, this morning I went to ChatGPT and said, I pasted a bunch of stuff that was in Git, and I said, how do I move these things to the stash and move these things to whatever and move these things to here, right? Rather than going to a website and trying to find out. And it came back and it gave me the exact commands to run, and I ran them. And you know what I mean? Like, there's absolutely good use cases for the chat variants of stuff, right? So they made a change to Codex this week, and I posted about it on Twitter, actually. And I was really pissed off. Do I have... hang on. x.com/unexpectedmaker. So I posted. So I had this problem where Codex, every time I'd ask it to do something, it would go and rescan every file in the project, no matter what I did, right? Even if I asked it just a question, right? It would go and rescan it. And so I had this interaction with Codex. This is a real interaction. I just added the me and Codex bit, right? So it kept burning through, it's got a Codex, a context window, and it gives you a percentage and it tells you whatever, right? And it kept burning through the context window, which cost me money, right? I'm a paid ChatGPT user, but I'd also had paid for tokens for Codex. And so it basically, Twitter account, too much Elon crap. Sorry. So I said to there, you keep burning through, why does it keep happening today? And it goes, I kept auto scanning because I defaulted to search everything before answering, right? After the blah, 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 blah. I said, you've given me the same response 3 times now. but have not changed your behavior. I did not ask you what you did wrong. I asked you what else changed to make you keep doing this. Was there a new update? Blah, 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 blah. And he goes, and Codex replied with, nothing changed on your side. There was a new system update this morning. OpenAI pushed a new relevance first heuristic. It favors re-indexing before responding. I should have overwritten it sooner since you explicitly said not to scan everything, right? So I said, so OpenAI made a silent change that has now cost me money in non-stop broken processing behavior. And he goes, yes, OpenAI rolled out a silent subject and changed the behavior. And I've confirmed that they did. And confirmed that, you know, it says here, I should have overwritten it sooner. Codex doesn't have the ability to override the behavior. I had to stop using Codex. So I had paid for an extra 1,000 tokens, and Codex burnt through that whole 1,000 tokens in 45 minutes of rescanning. Because they charge you a different rate for reading a message you send in terms of token, or that they calculate it differently, and then it's a different rate of calculation for Codex replying, and it's a different calculation for Codex doing work. All of the agents, all the coding agents do the same thing, right? I was doing that. I was using the F word every single comment, right? But I didn't for this because I wanted to post this. Literally, the change they made burnt through my tokens in 45 minutes, and I got nothing out of it. Nothing. It kept getting stuck in a rescanning all my files. Dear Loki, that's a crump. What? Wait, where's Loki? Is Loki here? I haven't seen Loki in ages. Or are you talking about something else? It's true as there's wrong with AI doing as you prompt, the other one doing it right. Yeah. So anyway, see what I using Claude for though is I'm sitting there with Claude. I'm sitting there programming Python, and inside my framework where my Python code is, there were 2 C++ projects. These are the projects that I didn't write that, you know, one of them is actually 20 years old, been evolved over 20 years, and one is 15 years old. One is C++ code for the Raspberry Pi. The other one is a C++ project for the MSP430 that's in the hardware. And both of the code bases are almost unreadable. Neither of them have got any comments. None of them have got any external documentation. And the level of coding stupidity and I did it this way because I could, not because it was smart or readable, yeah, in this code is next level. It's next level evil programmer code. And so what I use, you spend how much? 1.5K with them. Right, okay. I just went to $150 a month, of which I reckon I'm going to burn through in a week every time. But anyway, so what I'm using Claude for is I don't have to look through the C++ code base anymore. I got Claude to scan both the code bases, to audit both the code bases, to fully document in a README file, like massive, like one of the README files is like 1,300 lines long, of what all the classes do and what all the entry points for the functions in the classes do and how they tie together. And then what I do now is when I'm working on something and I'm trying to put something in and I want to know how that was handled on the C++ side, I now just say to Claude, you know, what function was used to do this and where was it called from and what data is being returned, right? And it gives me that information so I can look at it directly and I never have to go and look at one C++ file. And that's been a game changer for me because when I started the Python port, I was spending at least 70% of my time going in circles through the C++ code trying to find how they implemented it because I don't even have, like, there's not even any documentation that talks about the flow of how this process, like what are the rules? Like, can this functionality in the code happen before this happens, right? Is this allowed to happen here if the device is in this state, right? There's no way of knowing that looking at the code because it's all over the place and it's uncommented, undocumented. It's been a nightmare, and the client knows this. Like that's why they've let me rewrite it in Python. They know the code's unmaintainable. I can't. Not just can I not fix bugs in it, but I can't add functionality to it. It's terrible. Wasn't me. And to be fair, the client's got a real honest and justified concern about any developer running with what they're working with without him micromanaging them because of what's happened with this stuff in the past, right? But I was wasting 70% of my time just scanning through C++ code that I just couldn't work stuff out, right? Like the program will do something like this, right? If they were trying to validate the length of a string that they got via serial that they concatenated 1 byte at a time, reading 1 byte at a time, concatenating something, and then they check what the command is by indexing into just different letters of that. It's stupid, right? But they'd validate the length of that by saying, if the length of this equals, right? They'd go, this is not, I'm just giving you like a hypothetical example, right? If it equals 3 plus 3 plus 5 plus 1 plus 1 plus 4 plus 7 mod 3 minus 2, right? So if yeah, or whatever, or they do something like if index of, they were trying to validate, not just get the length, but validate the string, they'd go, if index of 7 plus 3 minus 4, blah, 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 is this letter, then it's correct. Like, that's what the code's littered with everywhere. Stuff like that. So anyway, Claude is amazing at ripping through that and working it out. Like, it goes and gives me, it replaces all that shit with the actual things, right? So I don't have to sit there trying to work it all out and get it wrong and wonder why my code doesn't do the same thing. But I don't let Claude write any of my my Python. I tried letting Codex write some Python for me, and oh my god, worst. Not only was it worst Python code I've ever seen, it was so non-Pythonic that it was terrible. So anyway, hey Lachlan, you just made it. I was actually going to shut down the stream 10 minutes ago, but now I've started talking about AI, coding bots, whatever. But I hope you're well. I'm going to be shutting down the stream soon. Yeah, it's great for audits and documentation, although I've only found Claude good at documenting its own code. Codex is terrible at doing it. Gemini is just, they've broken Gemini now. I haven't tried 3 yet, but 2.5 kind of worked. But yeah, no, not now. But what was I going to say? But something I tried yesterday though, I tried switching Claude from Opus to Sonnet, and it was miles apart in capability. So for those unaware, there's different levels. So like ChatGPT have got 5.1 max and 5.1, and then they've got or they've got Codex minimal or ChatGPT minimal, right? So with Claude, they don't do that. What they've got is they've got Haiku, which is their cheapest and quickest things for more basic tasks. They've got Sonnet, which is their mid-level, which costs more for tokens and how fast it burns the tokens, right? And then they've got Opus, which is their best for coding, right? And by default, when you add Claude code, it uses Opus, but you burn through stuff really quick. Like the cost is much higher. So I tried Sonnet yesterday for a bit, and miles apart in capability. Was unable to do things that I just asked Opus to do. So I think that there's still a really vast range of capability and stuff. So Non-codex is pretty good for docs, really good at. But you're talking about inside Visual Studio Code. I've not tried a. So if you use the Chat GPT and not the codex stuff, it can't look through your whole code base. What, it racked up $29 and you hadn't written a line? It's not that expensive. No, it's not. But wait, are you paying through the API dashboard, or are you paying like a monthly subscription? I'm just doing the monthly subscription. Right. If you're using, I didn't want to do right. So the problem with CLine is you got to pay for the API access to Claude Code, which is much more expensive. You're paying per use. You don't get any free allotment, whatever, which you do on the if you subscribe, but you can't use CLine or whatever it's called. But Claude Code, just in the terminal, can do everything CLine can do. It can look at the whole code base, right? So, which is the way Gemini client works. And I didn't like that much at the start. The Gemini client's implementation is terrible. They try to copy what Claude does, but in a bad way. But the Claude at the command in the terminal command line actually is usable. It's pretty good. It gives me live diffs, which Gemini didn't do. That's what I always want. Like, I want to be able to not just have it where I have to accept the change or not, but I want to see a real diff, a proper diff. And it does that. It shows me a real, like a proper diff, which can undo, which Gemini couldn't do. So yeah, it's super important. Do you when your code can touch, when the editor, when the code, oh my god, when the AI coding thing can touch all your files, including files that aren't even open, and you can't see what change they've made unless you have to scan through a shit ton of stuff, that's not what you want. And so yeah, Claude's got that solved in Claude Code. Codex can do that. The Claude extension in VS Code can only look at files you've got open. It's kind of like what Copilot can do, which is pretty shit. Anyway, so yeah, code review, and what I did was, so the because there's no documentation at all for this code that I'm porting, I've got Claude to keep a running full set of I've called it an audit at the moment, but a full set of scope and functionality of my Python code as I'm going. So I'm coding away, I'm doing stuff, I'm testing, I'll test and I'll deploy, and it works, and I'll say to Claude, review my changes and update the audit doc. And it goes through and it redoes it. So what I've got, and I showed the client the other day, it blew his mind. It was it's a pretty long document right now, but it covers, not only does it cover all of my code, rather than looking inline, there's inline comments and stuff, but it not only does it cover everything, all of it, like what all the functions do, but it covers how they're glued together, and then itemizes clearly what all the business rules are that make it work that way. So the client looks at it and goes, yeah, that's right. Oh, can we actually do this for this? Can we, like, I prefer that this was validated before that happened. Yep, no problem. Change. Claude, update the documentation, done. And it's there. And he now, for the first time in 15 years, will have not just a fully documented set of code, but an actual document on how the application runs. It's the only, apart from in his head, it's the only document he's ever had, complete document on the whole scope of how the program works and how the whole device works. That is, like, if I had to write that myself, not only would I've never done it because I would have procrastinated forever, but it would have been a quarter of as complete and thorough, and it would have had mistakes in it, right? So, and he's checked it, and Claude did it spot on. There was, maybe because it's easier to read Python code than whatever, but so that part's amazing, and that's why I started paying for it. Like, I don't want to ever be told by Claude, sorry, you don't have enough, credit left or whatever to document what I've just done. I don't want to do that, right? So document my changes, bang, right? And then I go at the same time, why doesn't my deployment script work? Yeah, blah, blah, blah. You need to do whatever else. Cool, thanks. I change it, update the documentation for deployment. Bang, brand new deployment document. Oh, it's like wicked. Anyway, okay, I'm going to stop now. Yeah. Your Firefox died. Yeah, you should be using Safari. Oh, really? Ham radio tool. Give it to your patrons. Nice. New change now. Add CI tests. Right, I've got no way of doing CI tests, unfortunately, for my stuff. Hey, John. I've not. No, I don't trust Grok at all. Oh, sorry, Foxy. You asked that before. Have I used DeepSeek? No. I don't know what integration they've got in Visual Studio Code or whatever, but it's no, I haven't. I mean, I tried doing a lot of stuff with just local things through Alarma, whatever. It doesn't work properly. Like I need a, and the other thing is Claude is fast, like insanely fast. Like I actually said to it this morning. Can you find in the C++ code where devices are initialized, what prompts the initialization and what they're not allowed to do until they're initialized? And no joke, I hit enter and I went down and I got half of my shoe on and I looked up and it already replied with, these are the entry points, these are blah, 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 this is what it's doing, these are the rules. Like, no joke, like it's like it didn't even scan any files. It just came right back. Like, it's just really, yeah. Opus is so fast. Like, it makes ChatGPT look like a single wheel bent push bike. It is really fast, but it's expensive. It is. Opus is very expensive, but so worth it. So, okay, I'm going. Oh, sorry, everyone. There was my little, my thing. I might be having a bit of a bromance with Claude Opus at the moment. Maybe. I'm sure we'll break up. I'm sure we'll get into a fight and we'll break up. Can it reverse engineer opcode for assembly? Sure. I'm pretty sure it could. It's freaking amazing. Like, it really, it's just insane. Like, a lot of them could probably do it. Whether it's done it accurately or not, I can't say. Like, you always got to check what they say. I always read everything that Claude writes. Always, right? You got to, they make mistakes. Absolutely, they lie, they hallucinate, they whatever, and that's why I'm still not prepared to let it write my Python code for me. But I will ask it questions about Python. Like, I'll say, like, what do you think is the best way to do this? Or I'll write some code and I'll say, can you, optimize this? Can you make this more Pythonic? And it'll give me suggestions. Absolutely. But I won't let it update my code. I'll let it present me with something that I can look at and go, yeah, actually, that's a much better way of doing it. Copy and paste, right? Like, but that's the difference. It's everything's vetted by a human, and where I'm deficient in something, be it knowledge or struggling with an implementation, right? I'll ask it for help, but I won't let it.
Chat has disconnected.
But I won't let it write my code, because then I have to sit there and read all of its code and then validate it, and that then becomes hard, because then I have a code base that I'm not on top of anymore. If that makes sense. Yeah, Eric, it was great seeing you, man. Thanks for popping in and saying hi. I appreciate it, and I'm glad you're doing well. Thanks you everyone for joining. Yep. No one hold their breath on the Reflow Master Pro stuff, okay? Don't hold your breath, because I don't know when. Knowing me, it could be years. Yeah. Okay. Bye, everyone. Take care.